Hey everyone, and welcome back to my $1,500 Range Rover Sport rebuild series. It's finally back on the road after its salvage inspection, so let's do a quick recap. After buying the truck at Copart, we found that it was in pretty good condition, but we had to dry and clean the very wet interior, do a brake job, a throttle body cleaning, fix some interior leaks, and put in a new radiator. With all that, it passed its inspection, but our work isn't done yet. We found out that the tires that were put on it right before it went to the auction lot were severely flat spotted to the point where they needed to be replaced. So we got some new tires. Now we need to take care of some items that may never have been serviced in over 180,000 miles. The differentials and the transfer case. So keep your fingers crossed for no shiny oil. So we're at the rear differential here, and we're going to be doing a fluid change. So to get ready, there's actually a lot of variation in options and specs. This is open diff. Some of them have a locking diff. Some of them have a different type of drain bolt, which requires different torque. So you have to look into what you have, if you have one of these, to make sure you put the right amount of fluid in and that you torque things right. So our drain bolt is a square drive, and then up our fill plug, which is right here, is a 8mm Allen. So we're gonna break these free, let this drain out. I've got an oil drain pan, and yeah, let's drain this out, and then we'll fill it back up. This is a 3/8 square drive. The electronic diff is a locking diff, whereas on the open diff setups, it will compensate by using the brakes. Most supercharged Range Rover Sports will have an electronic locking differential, but for a non-supercharged Sport, you'll have to check your build sheet or look on the side of your differential to see if there's a motor. It's important to note that the electronic differential uses a different fluid from the open ones, and probably a different amount. Okay, there we go. Wow, that was tight. You alright? Yeah, I got it. It was just really tight in there. Which I guess makes sense since it was never serviced. A little drip happening already from the top. Interesting. Oh, nice and golden.
Huh?
Very golden, but...
Really?
Yeah. However, if you want to look at the...
Oh!
magnet.
Wait a minute. This isn't metal. Not all of this, it's mostly gunk.
Yeah, there's no shiny stuff in the... It doesn't look shimmery.
Well, it caught on here, for sure, but...
Yeah. I mean, it probably settled there. This is the very bottom, so...
I was really worried. I saw big chunks. I was like, this is the end. I have to buy a new diff. But... it doesn't look that way.
I don't know if this was serviced. Because there's the little yellow marker on it. Like a little glob that they put on. Alright, we'll let this drain out. And we'll be back when it's time to fill it back up. I'm gonna put my drain plug back in, or new drain plug in. For my differential and drain plug, the torque spec is 21 foot-pounds. So to put 1.1 liters in here,
Yes.
I'll be filling up the fluid using a syringe to measure the right amount. With the one I have, I'll be doing 200 milliliters at a time. That's 600. This is 800. Yes. 1 liter. Okay, 100 more milliliters. Okay, that's it. 1.1 liters or 1100 milliliters. Get this started. Fill port plug. See where we're at? 24.9.
I'd leave it there.
Yep. That's good. All right. That's the rear diff. Okay. Now, when you drive, whatever got on your exhaust pipe will smoke later on and burn off.
Or you can hit it with brake clean.
Or you can hit it with brake clean. Yeah. That should minimize smoking, clean things up a bit. All right, now we can move to the front. We are under the front now. So as you can see here, I've already removed the skid plate, which is held in, for me it was 8 13mm bolts. However, I think there's 2 that belong up front that connect to the front skid plate, which is missing on this truck for now. Be careful, it's pretty heavy, so don't let it fall on you. Just leave 1 bolt and be ready. Now, your oil pan is right here, and your diff is right here. So this front diff has the Allen socket type, which is a little bigger, and I think it requires a higher torque, which I'll let you know when I put it back together. So this is the drain plug. The fill plug is on the other side. It's actually not the easiest to find because it kind of lives behind this. So you've got your drain plug right here towards the center of the truck, and towards the outside by the driver's side axle, which is right here, we have this mounting point, and the fill port is above that. So let's get us up here. You can see it right there. That is the fill port. So this is an 8mm Allen key. So we're gonna get in there and loosen that up. Now, one thing you wanna do for these, you wanna make sure you tap in the key for your socket that you're using, or whatever tool you have, so that it sits in properly. Because if you don't have it all the way in, you're gonna risk, taking the chance of rounding it off. And if you accidentally ruin your fill port, getting it out is gonna be a huge pain. And yeah, I don't know, I mean, taking the diff out to service it is a completely different scale of a job. Okay, so I'm gonna work this in here. Okay, broken it loose, but it is gross in there, so I'm actually gonna spray that out a bit so that I don't get dirt inside when I go to fill it up. So you can actually kind of see here between the diff and the mounting brace, there's a little gap, and you can probably look in there a little bit to position yourself with your tool. You probably want to get it started from looking around the outside, but you can see a little bit through here, so this might help later on when I'm filling it up, but we will see. Now let's finish getting that out. Now, I don't know if this is going to seep out like on the rear, so I'm gonna try to be ready for that. No seepage. Our fill plug is clean, that's good. So now it's time to drain the old fluid. Not a ton of room, so I'd have to hope that it doesn't drain onto me. So I've got my big ol' Allen key. Get this started here. Nope, that is the wrong direction. Okay. Okay, I need a break. We are part of the way out here. Now I'm gonna move out of the way because my track record with getting fluids out is not perfect. Ooh. 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 That's dark, not a lot. All right, we're gonna let this drain out. And we'll be back to fill it up. This one does not look nearly as good as the rear. I know, I think it holds a lot less, but definitely dark. The new drain plug. The, the magnet's strong, so it's going to the housing. Okay. As you put this in and get it to spec, you're gonna notice there's some threads coming out here. And as we saw earlier, if we look back at the footage, there is actually some threads sticking out. So I stopped at 40 foot-pounds and went to check on the footage just to make sure, and it does have threads sticking out. So this is normal. Don't overdo it. Don't just like jam it in until it's flush. You don't want to damage anything and then have to replace your diff. And next step is going to be to refill this with some fresh diff juice. I'll be working from the front, laying down here. I can actually see the opening for the fill plug. The right here is, if you look from this side, you can see the fill port right there. And this one is 610 milliliters. So again, I cleaned the surface around where the opening is so that I don't get dirt in it. Okay, that's 200. Actually, if you're working on removing that plug, working from the front here is probably going to be the best option. It's 400 and 210 here. Okay. Getting a drip. I gotta get this in. For the fill plug, we reused the old one, but I recommend getting a new one since it'll have the sealing material on it, and that'll make tightening it to spec easier. And that torque spec is 25 foot-pounds.
If that beep is there, I think we're close enough.
That was 23.6.
That's fine.
Okay.
Good enough.
But yeah, with a fresh plug, it should be much clearer. So 25 for a fresh plug. Okay, that's good. That is the front diff. Changing the fluid in the differentials is important because you want to minimize wear on the gears. Over time, the fluid can degrade and become less effective, and that can cause wear on the gears and even make the diffs noisy. It's a lot easier to change the fluid than it is to replace a diff. When you do this job, make sure you find out what type of drain plugs you have and whether you have an open or locking differential so you can find the right torques, how much they need to be filled, and what fluid they need. I bought kits from Atlantic British, which included the right fluid and plugs. I'm not sponsored, but they have great offerings for Land Rover and Range Rover trucks, like parts and service kits. I've ordered from them for this truck, and maybe something else too. I used the Land Rover 75W90 GL5 fluid because I have open differentials, but again, the gear oil for the electronic locking diffs is different, and the fill amounts probably are too. Now let's take care of the transfer case. Now we're gonna do the transfer case. And so this is in the middle of the truck. You've got your output shaft, your drive shaft for the rear, your drive shaft for the front, your mount, and that mounts to the transmission. So the front of the truck's over here, and we're gonna be able to see the fill plug right here, which is an 8mm. and the drain plug underneath, which is also an 8mm. Now you want to be careful. This is aluminum, so I want to make sure you follow the torque specs. This actually has a crush washer, and I believe this one does too. So just be aware of that. You don't want to damage anything, and you want to make sure it doesn't leak. So our first step is going to be to remove the fill plug, then we'll break this loose. And then I'll get out of the way because if you're using quick jacks, these are actually pretty far in and there's not a ton of room to work. So I'm going to break it free here, move out of the way, put the drain pan underneath, and then remove this, reaching over the pan, let it drain out. Oh, whew. Okay, that was tight. So you see this little yellow stuff here? I think that's from the factory, which means this probably wasn't ever serviced. Or if it was serviced at Land Rover, I don't know if they put that back on. Okay, that is back in here. Retighten this so it doesn't leak on me. Because I don't know how full this is. It might be up to here, it might drain out a bit, and I want to avoid getting it all over myself. So yeah, once you break it free, it's like finger tight, which is nice. There's fluid on the threads. Am I gonna make a mess on myself? Because the reason I'm removing the fill plug too is so this doesn't glug. I had oil all over myself more than once. Yeah, so this does have a copper crush washer as well. So I have a replacement plug for both and a fresh washer for both as well. Whoa, that's dark. Uh-oh! It's possible that this is never serviced, 180,000 miles on the fluid, which is why it looks like that. This is why you should service your stuff. And here you can see what the old transfer case fluid looks like. Let me know what you think in the comments, and subscribe to see if we'll have to revisit this. I guess I would describe that as more pearlescent than shimmery.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's better or not.
Not at all.
Alright, let me wipe that out. We got our new plug with its new copper washer. There we go. 16, it's nice and light. We'll be filling up here. The transfer case needs 1.5 liters of fluid. I used the Land Rover branded fluid, but I know there's also an alternative available from Atlantic British. This is the first 200.
Yes.
Come on, keep going. So it's 800?
Yep.
That's 1 liter in. This is 1400. I'm putting it all in, but it's streaming out now. So I'm gonna just
That makes sense because there might be some in the like that we didn't get out of the gears.
True. Or I hopefully didn't push it in too fast. Okay, ooh, gotta wipe this off. They're all buttoned up here. I'm gonna clean that off, just so it's easier to see if we have any leaks. Okay, I think that's good. All right, and that's the transfer case. Looks good. Now, next step before testing it out is going to be to put the panel back in here.
That's it.
With that done, we definitely have a little more peace of mind when we're driving around, and things are actually a little quieter too. We've driven a few hundred miles already, and it's running great. There's still more to do, and we also have some upgrades in the works. If you're enjoying the series, be sure to leave a like and maybe a comment too. Subscribe to see if this 180,000 mile Range Rover has something big in store for us. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.